Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Tobey'S Talkshow. This is episode number 36, and today we are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. So, as you guys are seeing this video, you guys have probably seen either 1 or 2 days of the playoffs, which is obviously very exciting. Already some upsets with the Bucks and the Magic game, and some controversy with the Clippers and Mavericks game. So, lots going on already. But today, I will be giving you guys my final predictions for the playoffs, who I officially think is going to win the championship now that we know everything that's going on, now that we know that seeding's happening, etc., with injuries also. And yeah, so this will be maybe a quick video, maybe a long video, depends how deep I go into it. And so yeah, we're going to start with the West first, with the first round. We'll go to the East first round, and then we'll do quarterfinals, semifinal, final. So let's start with the Lakers and Blazers. So I always thought that if the Blazers made it, they would be the hardest competition the Lakers would face. Obviously, the Grizzlies were there, but they didn't even have Jaren Jackson, and a lot of their players were young. You had the Pelicans there, but again, a lot of their players were young, no experience. And then you had the Blazers, who made the Western Conference Finals last year. Kind of was plagued with injuries, so they had a tough year. But with Nurkic back, with Dame, being as amazing as he was winning the MVP, Melo playing his exact role that was needed, CJ playing great, even with the broken back, they made it. But obviously, they're facing much harder competition now as they are facing the one-seeded Lakers. Some people had the Lakers sweeping this. Some people have the Blazers surprising the Lakers. I, for one, think the Lakers would win this series in 6 games. I think the Blazers will put up a good fight against the Lakers. I just think, even though Nurkic is back, Anthony Davis and LeBron, Melo can't guard LeBron. I love Melo. You guys know I'm a huge Knicks fan, but they don't really have that forward defense, especially with Ariza not being there. So I think LeBron's going to be LeBron's going to really easily take over. And I love Nurkic, but Anthony Davis is too good. And obviously the loss of Avery Bradley is going to hurt with perimeter defense, but they have Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to help, shut it down a little bit. Obviously, you're not stopping Dame and CJ. So that is why I had the Lakers winning in 6. The next series is the Rockets and Thunder. So this is a very interesting series. If Russell Westbrook was fully healthy, which we all know he's not, I think the Rockets would win this in 5 or 6. Now, I don't really know. The rumors and news are a little confusing right now with, how long Russell is out. But it says a few games. So that hurts the Rockets a lot because Russell is a huge X factor in this series. Looking at it, if Russell's going to miss 2 to 3 games, I have the Rockets winning in 7. And that's what I think he'll miss. I think the Rockets will be able, especially with their three-point shooting, to succeed. The games, as I'm recording this, the game's happening, I think, right now. So that's exciting. But I think the Thunder, how I see it, is that the Rockets three-point. I love the Rockets offense because they maximize efficiency when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's going to really help them in these playoffs. Obviously, the Thunder have really great defenders in Lou Dort, Shai, Chris. So they have a really great defensive team. But when you're shooting 63s a game, really there's no defense that could stop that. If Russell's out the whole series, I may have the Thunder winning at 7. But I think this series will be will honestly be a toss-up. I think it's going to be a great series, but I do have the Rockets winning in 7. The Nuggets and Jazz. So first of all, obviously, yesterday I got to watch Donovan Mitchell drop 57 points, and no one's talking about that enough. That is the 3rd most points in playoff history, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, the Jazz did still lose that game. How I view this series is that the Jazz are just missing 2 key components of their team, which would make this series a lot closer. If the Jazz had Conley, who's obviously in Ohio right now with his baby, congrats to him, and Bogdanovich, this could be a 7-game series. But to me, because of those 2 injuries because of those 2 players that are out, I had the Nuggets winning in 5. You saw Donovan Mitchell drop 57 points, and the Jazz still couldn't win. I think that just shows because obviously Mitchell's not dropping 57 a game. Jamal Murray looks great. Jokic looks fantastic. Michael Porter Jr., I think, with him getting a lot of minutes, he'll play exceptionally well. And yeah, I think the Nuggets are a better overall team, especially with those losses. Now, the final series, which is obviously the most controversial right now, is the Clippers and Mavericks. I thought this would be a very hard series for the Mavericks. I think this was their worst matchup as a lower seed because the Clippers are a great defensive team, and the Mavericks win games because of their offense. The Mavericks are one of the worst defensive teams in the bubble, and so obviously, like I just said, they're going to win based on their offense. And the problem is, out of all the teams in the West, the Clippers are probably the best defensive team. So that hurts them. So that's why I thought the Clippers would win in 5. Now, seeing yesterday's game, I don't know about that. The Mavericks were playing great. Luka is obviously going to be so good for so long. Kristaps looked amazing, which hurts to say as a Knicks fan. But I still have the Clippers winning. I'm going to probably say, I think if the Mavericks won yesterday, they would have won in 6. But I think with the Clippers winning yesterday, with Porzingis being out of that game because of the 2 techs, which I don't think he deserved, and I think everyone else realizes he didn't deserve that. I have the Clippers winning in 5. I think the Clippers defense is just too much for that Mavericks offense. And the Mavericks are just so bad defensively that they can't really stop the Clippers. Okay, so we just did the West. Now let's go to the East. The East, Bucks Magic. First of all, the Magic just won. Good for them, but I think it's going to be the same exact thing as last year with the Raptors and Magic when the Raptors won. Obviously, when they lost the first game, and obviously they won. They won the championship. I have the Bucks winning in 5 games. I think the Bucks just wasn't great defensively at all, and they're really known for their defense. But I think the Bucks are going to wake up and sweep the rest of the series, win the next 4. I just think they're too good defensively for the Magic, and the Magic are also missing key players like Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac. I'm very surprised they won this game. I do not expect them to win any of their games. This is a pretty simple prediction. I don't think there should be a lot of controversy towards that pick. Next, Heat Pacers. Okay, so I learned that T.J. Warren is playing in the series, but Domantas Sabonis is not, or at least he's out right now. So I think I'm going to give it to the Heat in 6. The reason, not in 5, but in 6. I think this could be a very close series. I think this could definitely be a toss-up. But in my opinion, I think the Heat depth is too much for the Pacers. I think the Pacers have a really, really good team. And I think, Oladipo not being 100% healthy is going to really hurt this team. That's a key component for the Pacers. And without a healthy Oladipo and without their all-star and Sabonis, I think that's really going to hurt their team. I think the Heat aren't a championship contender just because they don't have that all-star. Also, I just can't see Jimmy leading a team in the finals. But I do see Jimmy beating the Pacers due to, I think inexperience may hurt the Heat for a few games, which is why I have the Pacers winning a few games. But I think overall the Heat are just overall too good of a team for the Pacers, especially with the leadership they have in Jimmy Butler. Okay, Celtics-Sixers. So this one, if Ben Simmons was in this game or was playing this series, this could be a different series 100%. But I think the Celtics, they're versatile. They're great at shooting. I think the wing presence of Tatum and Brown is going to be too much for the Sixers wings. And that's why I have the Celtics winning in 6. I think the Gordon Hayward injury is definitely going to hurt the Celtics. But obviously, if you're a Celtics fan, you would take out Gordon Hayward if you got rid of Ben Simmons. Like I said, I think the wing depth will be too much for the Sixers. Obviously, they have Thibault and Richardson. But I don't know. I just think the Celtics, they have 3 stars. They don't have a ginormous star, like a superstar. But I think those 3 stars with Kemba, Tatum, and Brown make them very dangerous. And I think, even though the spacing increases without Ben Simmons, I think the overall team chemistry and the team itself does worse. And so for that reason, I have the Celtics winning in 6. Nets, Raptors. This is my first sweep, I believe. Raptors are going to win this series in 4 games. The Nets, their whole team is depleted. The Raptors are looking very sharp right now. They look like one of the best teams in the bubble. They're hot. Van Vliet's hot. Siakam's playing great. They have great depth, great defense, great coaching. That's all we have to say. Now we're going to jump back. So now we're in the quarterfinals, but we're going to jump back to the West with the Lakers and Rockets. So by this time, I expect, without injuries happening, I expect both teams to be fully healthy. So this is hard because I'm a huge Rockets fan. I think the Rockets can do some damage in the West. But in my opinion, I think the Rockets are going to push this series to 7 due to their shooting and their efficient shooting. But I think the Lakers' size are going to be too much for the Rockets. I think, if they played one game, I think the Rockets could steal it. But because they're 7, I think the Lakers are going to quickly understand how to stop the Rockets' offense and how to stop the small ball. and especially because the Lakers can get very big, but also could get small with Anthony Davis at the 5. It's going to be too much for the Rockets, even though they maximize their offense. I think their defense is going to be hurt by the small ball, and I think the Lakers are going to be able to figure out how to stop it, especially in a 7-game series. Now, Clippers Nuggets. I love the Nuggets. I just think the Clippers are just too good for the Nuggets. I had the Clippers winning this series in 6, and obviously this is what a lot of people expected. But, it's my predictions. It's who I think. I'm not going to, guess the 5-seed Thunder just to mix it up. I think the Clippers are too good defensively. I think they're too good offensively. I think their depth is too much for these Nuggets. And that's why I have them winning. I love the Nuggets. I think they could be a really good team. I just think they're a year or two away. I think Michael Porter Jr. needs to get to that 3rd-star level for the Nuggets to really cause some damage. Just because the Nuggets' depth isn't near the Clippers' depth. And I think, the rotations have to make more sense. I think Gary Harris being out definitely hurts them as well. Next, Bucks Heat. Again, I love the Heat. I think Jimmy Butler is a great player. I love Jimmy Butler and what he brings. But I think once the Bucks figure it out after beating the Magic, I think they won't stop rolling. I have this series in 5. Do I? Nah. Okay. I think because the Heat do really match up well against the Bucks, I have this series going to 6. The Heat have beat the Bucks twice, I think, in the regular season. They figured out how to beat the Bucks. But when it's all said and done, 7-game series. How the NBA works is you really get to figure out who the better team is because it's a 7-game series. And I think we all know the better team is the Bucks, the best defensive team in the league. They could shoot the ball lights out. Giannis is the most valuable player this year. I just think they're too good for the Miami Heat, and I think the inexperience of the Heat are going to hurt them. And I think the defense, because Miami, they thrive on defense, but also, if you don't have an offensive game, you're not going to be able to win games nowadays. A lot of how teams win is they score 120, 130. I think the Bucks, their defense is going to be too much for the Miami Heat. Celtics Raptors. This is going to be, I think, my favorite series until the Lakers Clippers series, which I think will happen. I think these are 2 great Eastern Conference teams. But again, I have the Raptors winning, I think, in 7. I think it's going to be, again, a great series, a fantastic series. But, depth, defense, coaching, those are my 3 favorite things in the NBA, and the Raptors have all that. Again, the Celtics, I think, have more star power. They have, Tatum, Brown, and Kemba Walker compared to Siakam and Lowry. But I think Fred VanVleet's going to step up. I think Gasol's going to step up. I think Terrence Davis is going to step up. I think the coaching is going to do outstanding. Figure out how to stop these Celtics. Again, defense is going to be huge for the Raptors. And, coaching too, especially in a 7-game series. I have the Raptors moving on. Okay, so now we are at the semifinals. It's not a surprise I have the 1 and 2 seeds. But this is where things get very interesting. If you guys have been following my channel since October, I've had the Clippers beating the Lakers since, October, since I've started this channel. And that hasn't changed. I think it could definitely be a 6 or 7-game series. I want to make it 7 just to make sure. But I had the Clippers winning in 7. Again, depth is going to be too much for them. I think Doc Rivers has that championship experience. Frank Vogel really doesn't. And I think depth, coaching, and defense, once again, I think those are my 3 favorite things. And that's why I have the Clippers beating the Lakers. I think the Lakers and Clippers, it's going to be either way. You choose the Lakers, Clippers, supporters are going to hate you. You choose the Clippers, Lakers supporters are going to hate you and say that you're wrong. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think it's going to be so close every game, or most games at least. They go back and forth. They did, at least in the regular season. They're going to go back and forth in the playoffs if they meet. I love both teams. Lakers, obviously, Kobe. I would love the Lakers to win. Clippers, I haven't made it past 2nd round ever. I'd love to see them win also. But I just had the Clippers making it. Again, depth, defense, coaching. Bucks, Raptors. This is very interesting. 2 great defensive teams. 2 very well-coached teams. And I love the Raptors. But the one issue I see here is that the Bucks have a superstar, and that's Giannis. And the Raptors have a star in Pascal and have a star in Lowry. But I just see Giannis taking over this series if it's happened. I see Giannis, pushing to make the finals, pushing to win it all. I think he wants to stay in Milwaukee, but he also wants to win. And I just see him dominating. I see him dominating the Raptors. I love Nick Nurse. I love his coaching style. I love how he was able to lock down Giannis last year. But I don't see it happening again this year. I think Budenholzer is going to figure it out. And I think Giannis is going to take over, and I think the shooting of the Bucks is going to be too much for the Raptors, and I have the Bucks winning in 6 games. Now, the finals. I had this in my previous video. Yes, I have Lakers, Clippers, and the 2 and 1 seed. I mean, this could go either way. I love the Bucks. I love the Clippers. Do I really like the Bucks? Probably not. I want Giannis to get out of the East. Hopefully, go to like the Warriors or something. But the Clippers, I love. I've said since day one, if Kawhi went there by himself, they'd win the championship. And then they have Paul George now too. And again, both great defensive teams, both well-coached teams, both great depth teams. But I have the Clippers winning this series in 6. How do I change this? I don't know how to do this. Oh, here we go. In 6. I love the Clippers. I think their depth is going to be too much for any team they face. They just have so much depth. If injuries come in, they have the depth for it. I think the Clippers are the most well-rounded team. They have the offense. They have the defense. They have the coaching. They have the depth. They have everything you ever want in a team. And, I've explained this before, but I just think the Clippers are the best team in the league this year, and I think they're going to win it all. I think the Bucks. I think they could push it. I think they could win the championship. I really do. I don't think it's either going to be Lakers or Clippers. I think the Bucks could definitely make some noise, and so could the Raptors. But I just think the Bucks. I think they don't have the experience. They've only made it past the Eastern Conference Finals. Giannis hasn't even been to a finals yet. We know how LeBron did when he first made it to the finals. But this is how I see it going. Obviously, the bubble's a very different story, and things could shake up out of nowhere. We know that fans is going to change some things up, and it's going to be a very different scenario in these playoffs. But these are my predictions. This is what I see happening. Let me know your guys' predictions down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Fun one to do. I just found this website. I'll leave it down below if you guys want to try this out. And thank you guys so much for the support these past videos. I want the Clippers to win it all. Let me know who you think is going to win it all down below. And I will see you guys in the next video where I'll probably discuss the first round of the NBA playoffs. Alright, see you guys next time. Bye, guys.